Welcome to Afro Tales Hub channel. After Princess Adanne expressed her desire to marry Prince Ukendu, a heavy silence fell upon the room. Awkwardness filled the space between her and Adanne as he withdrew his hands and distanced himself, creating a physical gap. His eyes betrayed a mix of sadness and shock, revealing his emotional turmoil. Adanne couldn't comprehend how, after all the years he had been by her side and his family had accepted her despite her condition, she would repay him like this. His voice quivered with emotion as he spoke, expressing his disappointment. After all these years of me being there for you and my family accepting you despite your condition, this is how you'll repay me. I can't believe you're letting me down again. Adanne felt a pang of guilt seeing Adanne's pain but attempted to explain the difficult decision she had made. She acknowledged Adanne's support and said, I know you've been there for me, Arenzi, but it's hard for me to stay with. I'm royalty, and I have to marry someone of the same status to honor my family's legacy. Please try to understand. She hoped that he would grasp the weight of her responsibilities. Adanne continued, sharing the promises made by the prince, emphasizing the rewards that awaited Adanne and his family. The prince promised to bless you and provide a significant sum of money. He'll build a grand house with guards and servants. I think that's a good reward for what you've done for me. She hoped that the material benefits would help Adanne comprehend her decision. However, Adanne's response showed his lack of interest in the prince's offer. He shook his head adamantly, stating, I helped you because I love you, Adanne. I didn't do it expecting anything in return. I won't accept the prince's offer. I don't care about his money. I don't need it. His resolute refusal to accept any reward hung heavily in the air, disappointing Adanne, who had hoped for better understanding. With sadness in her heart, Adanne realized that Adanne couldn't be persuaded. She sighed, recognizing that she would have to bid farewell to the kind drummer who had loved her so deeply. She wanted to share her decision openly to avoid surprising him later. Holding back tears, she thanked Arinza, attempting to maintain a steady voice. Slowly, she stood up and began to walk away, leaving Adanne heartbroken in their one special meeting place in the forest grove. As Adanne departed, Adanne watched her receding figure with a mix of sadness, anger, and a sense of betrayal coursing through him. He had always accepted Princess Adanne despite her struggles with the curse, but her choice to marry the wealthy prince solely for status and riches wounded him deeply. He questioned if their years together and the challenges they had faced side by side meant nothing to her in the end. The remnants of their dreams for a life in their hidden paradise, away from royal duties, now lay shattered by Adanne's pursuit of wealth and status. With a heavy heart, Adanne was left to contemplate the true value of their love. Arinza packed up the picnic blanket and the basket of berry tarts he had prepared, his eyes welling up with tears as he looked at the untouched food. Just yesterday, he had been filled with excitement to surprise Adanne. Now, the sweet pastries left a bitter taste in his mouth. He struggled to comprehend what had just happened. Walking home, each step felt like his heart was breaking. In his mind, he replayed their conversation, desperately searching for any signs that Adanne's feelings had changed, or perhaps she had never truly loved him. But he found no answers, only more pain and confusion. As Arinza approached the village, he dreaded having to tell his father, Chief USO, about what had transpired. The kind healer had been supportive of their relationship, and now Arinza had to admit that Adanne had chosen wealth over their love. He envisioned the disappointment on his father's face, and it made him Chief USO had placed a great deal of trust in Princess Adanne, even performing rituals to lift her curse. Knowing that she had turned her back on that hard-earned freedom would crush him. But Arinza knew he couldn't keep such a significant, life-changing event from his father. He owed it to Chief USO and himself to share the whole truth about what had happened in the forest grove. Perhaps his wise father could help him make sense of Adanne's perplexing decision or, at the very least, provide a sympathetic ear and some ancestral wisdom to ease Arinza's heartache. Either way, facing this alone was not an option. As Arinza arrived at his father's herbal hut, Chief USO sensed his son's distress immediately. The village healer hurried out and embraced Arinza, his face reflecting concern. My son, what's bothering you? Chief USO asked gently, holding Arinza at arm's length to look at him. Taking a deep breath, Arinza found that speaking the words out loud only intensified. Father, Princess Adanne chose to marry Prince Ukendu instead of me, he confessed. Chief USO looked shocked but remained silent, allowing Arinza to continue. Arinza felt grateful for his father's patience and wisdom. The prince offered a significant amount of money and even a grand house with servants for our family if Adanne married him, Arinza explained, his voice filled with anguish. But I refused his offer. I didn't do things for her expecting to receive something in return. Tears streamed down Arinza's face as he recalled their conversation in the forest. My love for the princess was pure and unwavering. Doesn't she care about that? After everything we've been through. Chief USO embraced his distraught son, providing a space for him to share his pain and anger. The old healer remained silent for a while, gently stroking Arinza's hair, reminiscent of their moments together when Arinza was a child. Finally, he spoke in a calm tone. I am saddened and angered by the princess's choice too, my son. You gave her your whole heart during her troubles, and to have that love rejected for material things is a profound insult. Arinza nodded, more tears falling as he found solace in his father's understanding of the hurt and betrayal he felt. He felt a mix of surprise and confusion as Chief USO continued speaking. Was his father suggesting that they should simply accept what had happened? Oren looked at him, searching for clarity. Chief USO sensed his son's confusion and proceeded to provide further explanation. Don't worry, Oren. There will come a time when not just the kingdom, but the entire world will honor and celebrate you. You just need to be patient and resilient, like the mighty oak trees that endure numerous storms, Chief USO assured him, his voice growing more determined. Continue being the good and honorable man you are. The right time will come when everyone recognizes your true worth, which is far more valuable than any temporary wealth. Oren frowned, still perplexed by his father's enigmatic words. He questioned, but, Father, what do you mean? Please explain clearly because I don't understand. Chief USO smiled kindly, placing a hand on Oren's shoulder. Do not worry, my child. When the opportune moment arrives, you will know it for certain. Until then, trust in the wisdom of our ancestors, who have always guided us well. Although still puzzled, Oren maintained unwavering faith in his father's wisdom. He nodded slowly, a glimmer of hope rising within him despite the pain of Adanne's rejection. Perhaps there was more to this situation than he could currently perceive. Chief USO seemed to sense a greater plan or destiny for Arinza, prompting him to follow his father's advice and remain patient during this challenging time. Thank you, Father. Your words bring me comfort even if I do not fully comprehend them yet, Arinza expressed, embracing his father tightly. I will endeavor to stay brave and move forward, just as you have advised. Chief USO smiled proudly, returning the embrace. As the evening shadows lengthened, they found solace in their strong bond and the unseen forces that watched over them. Chief USO nodded, expressing his pride in his courageous son. That's my brave son. Now, let us prepare some calming tea from willow bark. You've had a tough day. Meanwhile, Princess Adanne continued with her plans, drawing closer to Prince Ukendu. She met with her father, King Chuka, to inform him of her decision. Father, I have already informed Arinza about my intentions to marry Prince Ukendu, Adanne asserted firmly. The king was not pleased upon hearing this. He reminded his daughter of his previous advice, questioning her haste and the abandonment of the love and support Arinza had given her. King Chuka let out a deep sigh, acknowledging that he could not force her to marry someone she did not wish to and that he would not strip her of her rights as a prince. However, he looked at Adanne with a serious expression, conveying his concerns. Our ancestors will see that I disagree with your decision to leave the man who stood by you through everything. However, Adanne disregarded her father's words, still somewhat spoiled and failing to fully learn from her mistakes. She proceeded with her plans to marry Prince Ukendu, even though her father did not approve. She was drawn to his wealth and status, unable to see Oren's genuine love. In the following weeks, Prince Ukendu's people arrived, conducting all the necessary wedding ceremonies and paying Adanne's full bride price to King Chuka. The preparations for the royal wedding commenced, turning into a grand, extravagant event attended by nobles from all 5 kingdoms. As the ceremony began, Oren made the difficult decision to observe from the back of the crowd, wanting to witness the reality of the situation. His heart shattered as he watched the woman he loved exchange vows and partake in sacred rituals with the arrogant prince. People around him whispered and gave him pitying looks, fully aware of the painful predicament. Some shook their heads, unable to comprehend how Princess Adanne could relinquish a love as pure as Oren's for the sake of wealth. Nonetheless, Oren remained strong, determined not to let strangers witness his complete breakdown. He watched without displaying much emotion until the newlywed couple departed, accompanied by flower petals and cheers. Only then did Arinza allow a few tears to silently trickle down his cheeks. He turned away, attempting to keep his head held high despite the heavy burden on his heart. Walking slowly through the emptying streets, Oren felt utterly alone. However, a gentle hand on his shoulder halted him. He turned to find King Chukamea gazing at him with profound sadness and sympathy. "My son," the king began, struggling for words, sighing deeply. "I wish there was something I could have done to prevent this day. You deserve better than this injustice." Oren shook his head, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "This was the princess's choice, my king. Perhaps she was never truly mine to keep in the first place." King Chukamea placed a comforting hand on Oren's arm. "Do not give up on that belief just yet, young man. My daughter may have been blinded for a while, but I believe her heart will eventually find its way back to the path of truth." The weary king led Oren away from prying eyes and gossiping mouths. They walked in silence for a while, lost in their own painful thoughts. As they neared Oren's modest hut, the king spoke again. "You know, when Chief Yuzo brought you into our lives all those years ago, I felt there was something special about you." Oren looked at him with. King Chukawi smiled, although there was a tinge of sadness in his expression. "Yes, there was something remarkable about the humble drummer boy who displayed more bravery, honor, and kindness than many royals I have. You supported my daughter when she was at her lowest, when others might have rejected her." They stopped outside, and the king turned to face Arinza. "That day, I made a promise to the spirits that I would treat you as my own son, recognizing the crucial role you played in Adanne's journey. And that promise still holds true, despite her current mistakes." Arinza felt a surge of emotions upon hearing the king's words. Even after everything, he was still considered part of the royal family. "You have faced a great injustice today, my boy," King Chuka said solemnly, "but we must believe that the ancestors haven't completely abandoned you. There are still greater stories waiting to unfold." The king reached out and warmly hugged Arinza, allowing him to finally release his grief against his shoulder. They stood like that for a while, sharing their sorrow over the princess's decisions. When Arinza managed to calm down a bit, the king held him with a proud look. "You have shown amazing dignity and grace through all the. Remember, heavenly forces notice people like you, even when the world doesn't see your admirable spirit." With that, King Chuka gave Arinza's shoulder a comforting squeeze before heading back to the palace. Arinza watched him go for a moment before entering his simple hut, feeling emotionally drained but slightly encouraged by the thought of mysterious forces still at work. Arinza realized that although he had lost the princess, he had gained something precious, a father figure who saw his true worth beyond his common status. It was a small comfort, but it gave him a bit of strength to face the uncertain future ahead. When he arrived home, Chief Uso was waiting outside, knowing that Arinza might need comfort after such a tough time. As soon as Arinza was close enough, the healer hugged him tightly, embracing him like a father. They stood like that for a while, Uso allowing Arinza to find some solace in the embrace. He could feel his son's body shaking with held back. Finally, Uso held Arinza's face in his hands and looked into his tear-filled eyes. "My son, your heart has been through a lot, but don't lose hope or faith in the bigger plan." Arinza tried to speak, but the pain and confusion made it impossible. How could he feel hopeful after witnessing the love of his life commit herself to another man? Sensing his son's inner struggle, Chief Uso spoke in a gentle but firm voice. "Arinza, you have shown incredible patience, honesty, and bravery through all this. The ancestors have surely noticed." He led Arinza into the hut and settled. Healer Uso settled him down on a woven mat before taking a seat across from Arinza. Uso retrieved a small pouch and sprinkled a potent-smelling powder into a bowl, waving it under Arinza's nose. "Breathe this in, son. It'll help calm your troubled mind," Uso said softly. Arinza inhaled the soothing smoke, feeling it temporarily numb his pain. As the tension left his body, his father continued offering comforting words and, "What you've been through is one of life's hardest tests, to give your whole heart to someone, only to be rejected." Chief Uso shook his head sadly. Princess Adanne might have been blinded by the desire for material things after suffering for so long, or there might have been darker spiritual forces leading her away from true love. Regardless of the reasons, you need to let go of the anger, resentment, and sadness in your heart, Uso said, patting his son's knee. "Otherwise, those feelings will eat away at you like a chronic illness." Arinza finally spoke, his voice sounding defeated. "How can I let go of the pain, Father. Adanne meant everything to me. She was my whole world. Without her, what future do I have? The healer's expression turned determined. Arenza, there's always a future and a purpose for those who have suffered greatly. The ancestors wouldn't let you go through this tough time without a reason, Chief USO said. You should rest now and try to sleep. We can talk more later. He took a small pouch and sprinkled a strong-smelling powder from it. Chief USO waved it under Arenza's nose, and the smell made him feel sleepy, eventually falling into a deep sleep. 3 years later, Princess Adanne and Prince Ukendo were married and had a son named Chick. One day, shocking news spread across the 5 kingdoms. The High King, who ruled over all the kingdoms and was Prince Ukendo's father, had fallen terribly ill. Despite the best efforts of the healers, the High King couldn't overcome the illness and sadly passed away. This sorrowful news quickly reached all the kingdoms. Kings, chiefs, and councils were informed about the tremendous loss of their supreme ruler. A time of great sadness was declared throughout the lands, and nobility from all over the 5 kingdoms traveled to the capital to bid their final farewells. After days of mourning and funeral ceremonies, the High King was laid to rest following ancient custom. Now, there was no king to rule, but traditions dictated that exactly 7 days after the king's death, his eldest son must be crowned as the new ruler to govern all the kingdoms. As the 7th day approached, kings and important figures from all 5 realms gathered at the old ceremonial. The grounds where the coronation would take place were filled with anticipation. Princess Adanne was thrilled that her dream of Ukendo becoming the High King was coming true. Ukendo himself was happy to ascend as the supreme ruler, having been prepared for this special day. Crowds gathered from all over, eager to witness the important coronation event. Chiefs, priests, and noble people arrived, dressed in their finest attire. Princess Adanne watched with excitement as the priests commenced the intricate rituals and chants. After the completion of the rituals, the head priest called upon Prince Ukendo to step forward. He pointed to an ancient staff and explained, "This ancestral staff will determine if you are the rightful firstborn son and heir to the..." Lift it from its stand. Confidently, Ukendo approached and attempted to lift the staff, but to every surprise, he couldn't move it, no matter how hard he tried. Confusion spread among the crowd as Ukendo struggled, and Princess Adanne realized something was amiss. Despite his efforts and the encouragement to remain calm, the staff remained immovable. Eventually, the head priest quieted the crowd and addressed Prince Ukendo, "It seems the gods have decided that you are not meant to be the king." Ukendo argued, but the priest continued, "I already knew you weren't the true firstborn son, but I waited for this test to reveal it to everyone." The crowd grew louder as Ukendo denied the revelation, yet the test clearly indicated a significant occurrence. Although Ukendo had been prepared to assume the throne, the gods had different plans. The head priest silenced the crowd once again and advised Ukendo, "Don't fight it, the spirits have determined that the true firstborn heir, who should be our High King, has not yet been revealed." He looked at Ukendo, who realized he couldn't alter the decision. The crowd began to argue, uncertain of who should lead them. They had to wait for the God's chosen one to be revealed. Subsequently, the head priest instructed Prince Ukendo's other brothers and sisters to try lifting the staff, but none of them could move it either. Chief USO, sitting in a corner of the crowd, observed with a knowing smile. The head priest then made an announcement that would reverberate throughout the 5 kingdoms. All men needed to undergo a test to determine if they had true royal blood. The next market day was set for this significant event, and the coronation ceremony was halted due to this unexpected turn of events. Everyone departed feeling perplexed and uncertain. Prince Ukendo and Princess Adanne returned to their heart, spending the entire day in tears and too distraught to eat. The story would continue, and the audience was urged to express their excitement for the epic conclusion of Princess Adanne's journey. We are in the midst of this enthralling saga and encourage you to share it with your loved ones. We are closely monitoring the comments to assess the level of interest in releasing part 4 of the story. Stay tuned for more updates. Thank you for listening. See you in the next updated video.